Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube Live. And today I'm going to show you how I made a card with one of the fun new bundles from the upcoming Stampin' Up! Online exclusives. These are available for demonstrators to pre-order now. But you can also get them starting on November 5th if you are not a demonstrator. Or you can join now during the month of October and get the great deal on the starter kit. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but you'll be able to get the great deal on the starter kit here in the month of October. And then you can grab this as part of your starter kit if you'd like. So it's one of the options that is available if you are interested in that. Again, there's lots of other good stuff out there as well, but this is one of the new sets that'll be available as an online exclusive starting to order starting November 5th, or demonstrators can pre-order it now. So hey, Carol, thanks for joining today. So this is the card we're going to be making today, and I made it with the Happy Hibiscus stamp set bundle, which is one of those, it's a 3D embossing folder, and I'll show you how that works in just a second once we get going on the card. So this is it. Just I kind of tried to use some fun kind of tropical colors to me, because hibiscus, in my opinion, is kind of a tropical-ish plant. So I just picked some brighter colors and thought we could probably use it. Been doing lots of fall and winter stuff, but thought this was a fun one to give us a little change up here as we're, I guess getting into fall. So, hey, Carol and Pam and Sally and Robin and Sherry, thanks for hopping in today. So this is the stamp set. Again, it's called Happy Hibiscus. It's got some good sentiments. There's a congratulations, you make me smile, and a thanks for being so kind. And then obviously the floral images. The stamps are a little bit bigger than they appear on this front cover. And again, basically this is, you can see how much larger they are in the actual image. And then we've got the dies that coordinate with it. So this one will cut out the set of these three stamped images, so the lined images, or you can cut them out individually as well, so however you want to do it. And then there are leaves that will cut out the stamped leaves. And then we've got a circle that will cut out sentiment, this little banner that will cut out the other two sentiments, and then there are a couple of leaves and floral images that are just extra little bonus things in the die set. So I see Marilyn is here, and Carol and Polly. Thanks everybody for joining today. So, all right, from North Carolina. Oh, I'm glad you're able to join us, Suzette, and hopefully you didn't have any damage at your house. I'm not sure where you are in relation to that big storm, but it sounds like it's still a mess in North Carolina. And now Florida's a hit again, and goodness, it's been a crazy little kind of late summer, early fall for the hurricanes. My goodness. All right. So the embossing folder, it's called a hybrid embossing folder, a 3D hybrid embossing folder. And when you order the bundle, you actually get all three pieces together. So you get your stamp set, you get the dies, and the embossing folder that coordinate. If you just order the hybrid embossing folder, you get the embossing folder and the dies. So don't be confused about that when you're ordering. You get both of these pieces so you can die cut and emboss things together. So I bet it was scary. My goodness. Like I said, it's just so crazy in that it hung around and like hovered over North Carolina. So such a mess. And I'm still hearing stories about people are still stranded with no power and no water, and it's been 2 weeks, and that sounds horrible. So hopefully they get the power back on soon for everybody and get water running again and get those. I know a bunch of bridges and things were wiped out too, so it's a huge mess. So all right, you just got your set today, Barbara. It's a good one. You're going to have fun playing with it. So the hybrid embossing folders, the reason they are hybrid is they actually work, they will die cut as well as emboss. So with this embossing folder, you can actually take your die that coordinates with the stamped image, and you put it into your embossing folder, and it doesn't like lock into place, but it kind of clicks into place, if that makes sense, where you aren't able to move it around easily. Then you know it's in the right spot, and you can actually cut and emboss at the same time. So again, I'll be showing you that when we're making the card today. So that, again, this is the bundle that we're going to be playing with today. So let me set the stamp set aside here. A couple things to talk about before we get going. As I mentioned earlier, the starter kit special. If you want to get this bundle a little early, again, it'll be available to order starting on November 5th for everybody. Demonstrators can pre-order it right now. So you can add this as part of your starter kit if you are interested in joining. The starter kit is $99 and it ships for free. So it's $99 plus tax if that applies in your area. Ships for free. And you get to pick, instead of the normal $125 worth of merchandise, you actually get to pick $155 worth of Stampin' Up! Merchandise. Anything that you want that's available to order, you can get it. So, and even the pre-order items for the upcoming online exclusives you can get as part of the starter kit. So that is a great deal. If you want to get other things in your starter kit, you can always get the starter kit and then pick up the other pre-order items and get your 20% discount on it, because demonstrators get a 20% discount at a minimum on everything that you order. So let me know if you have questions about that. We'd love to have you come join the team. We're pretty relaxed, no requirements to do anything. You can order from yourself and maintain your minimums, and you can be a demonstrator. So, and get the discount for yourself. So there's no requirement to do the business side unless you want to. So, all right. 30% off kits, or up to 30% off kits in the kits collection during the month of October is going on as well. And these can also be added as part of your starter kit deal if you want to. There are lots of great kits out there. Even the brand new kits that just became available starting in early October are on the sale as well. So make sure you're checking those out anytime you're out in the online store, and get your kits picked up this month and get 30% off, up to 30% off them. So. And then online exclusives, as I was just chatting about earlier, this bundle is one of the new online exclusives that is coming. This is just a very small sampling of the items that will be available to order. This is definitely not everything. There's lots of other good stuff out there as well. But yeah, so this is, again, just one of the other great online exclusives that is available for demonstrators to pre-order and will be available for customers starting on the 5th of November. And then don't forget to check out the new scrapbooking products that Stampin' Up! Has available to order. They've got some scrapbooking kits. So it's kind of scrapbooking pages made easy, where everything that you need to make a pre-laid out page is all included in the kit. And you can make it that way if you want. You can change it up if you want, but definitely go check those out in the online store. All right, let's get started on the card. And I've got a card base. It is Summer Splash is the name of the cardstock. It's one of the in colors for 24 to 26 in color, 2024 to 2026 in colors. And it's not one that I've used a whole lot. And I pulled it out and I'm like, why am I not using this more often? I guess it's such a fun blue, again, kind of perfect tropical blue color. So, all right, so card base is just your standard 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 in the middle. And then I've got a piece of the 2024 to 2026 in color 6x6 designer series paper. It's a 2-inch by 5.5-inch piece of the cardstock. And I thought I'd change it up just a little bit. My original card had the stripes on it. And when we get all done, you can tell me whether you like the stripes or the polka dots better. But I kind of go back and forth on which one is my favorite. But I figured I would try a little bit of the polka dots for this card. And, like I said, I'd done the stripes earlier. So figured we'd just do polka dots for this one. All right. What I'm going to try to do is try to get this lined up fairly straight and fairly centered on my card base. So just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're going to be about halfway between. And my grid paper helps me to get it lined up reasonably straight. It's not always perfect. And sometimes my counting is not always perfect either. So just trying to get it towards the middle of the card base. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining today. And then ahead of time, I did emboss a piece of Summer Splash cardstock with the Happy Hibiscus 3D embossing folder. So you can use this embossing folder in a couple different ways. You can just emboss with it, which is what I've done for this panel. So that's what it looks like if you just use the embossing piece of it. And we're going to stick that to a piece of basic white cardstock. This is about 3 3/4 by about 4 5/8. And again, the measurements will be on my blog tomorrow, so don't worry about trying to keep up with the 5/8 and the 3/8 and the 1/4 and all that stuff. And then I've got a piece of basic white cardstock that should measure about 3.5 inches by about 4 3/4 inches. And it should give me a nice little border around everything here. I did put the adhesive on the basic white panel instead of the Summer Splash panel, since I was trying not to smash my embossing when I put my adhesive on, because sometimes I get a little heavy-handed and mush everything down. So, hey, Nancy, thanks for joining. All right. Then we're going to adhere this with some Stampin' Dimensionals to the card front. And I use my little half Stampin' dimensionals, which I know some people love, some people do not. You can use whole dimensionals if you want to. I just like the half size ones because they stick just as well as the full size one, and they fit better in most places, in my little opinion. So, hey Cindy, thanks for joining. So again, I'm just going to take this and try to roughly center it on my card base. So there we go. Now we're finally going to get to a little bit of stamping. I've got a piece of basic white cardstock. I don't know, this measures 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. It doesn't need to be perfectly that size, but you want it to be relatively close in size to this image. And I'll show you why in just a second. I did it a little oversized, obviously, but you want it to be, you don't want to, well, I'll show you in a second why you want it to be relatively close to the size of the image that you're going to be stamping. And I've got basic gray ink here, and we're just going to ink up the 3-flower image. And we will stamp it here kind of in the center of our basic white cardstock. There we go. And while I have that open, I'm also going to grab another piece of cardstock, and we're going to stamp a couple of leaves on it. So I've got the smaller leaf and the larger leaf. And again, we're just stamping the little outline images in basic gray ink. And I did 2 of the leaves ahead of time, so I only have to do 2 of them to make the card because I figured there was no sense in, rolling it through die cutting an extra time if I didn't need to. All right, set that aside. And then we're going to start grabbing some of the flowers. So I've got bubble bath ink. And that is what I'm going to stamp the largest flower in. And I'm going to go back to this panel here where I've got my outlined images. And we're just going to ink up the bubble bath flower, or the flower in bubble bath, I should say. And then we're just going to layer it right over the top of the already stamped image. And there you go. So that is our 2-step stamping, which I love. And the photopolymer stamp sets make it super easy to do that. Then the medium-sized flower, I've got lemon lolly ink. Oop. And then we're just going to do the same thing. Ink it up. It's not terribly difficult to figure out which way around this flower goes because the petals are pretty distinctive. So just kind of spin it around like I did until you figure out, make sure you've got the petals lined up in the right spot to stamp it. And then the final color that I used is peach pie. And I use that for the little flower. And we're just going to ink that one up. And then stamp it right over the top of the lined image. Close up this one, set that aside, and then I'm going to pull my leaves back in here, and we're going to stamp the leaf images, the fill-in images in lemon lime twist. Too many L's in the, the stamp set names in this one. So lemon lime twist, I've got my larger leaf here. And again, just going to line it up over the lined leaf. And then the smaller one. There we go. And these actually I found, I can say that now that I'm done with the stamping part of it, they're actually pretty easy to line up. And they're a little forgiving too, which is nice. You don't have to get them perfectly stamped, which makes it a little bit easier, a little less stressful when you are stamping and doing the 2-step stamping. All right. Like I said earlier, when you are stamping and if you want to die cut and emboss these flowers, you want to make sure that you've got a paper that they fit on, but not a huge paper, because you need to be able to move it around here inside your embossing folder to get it lined up correctly. So I wouldn't start with like a 1/4 sheet of cardstock, because then you're going to end up having to chop off edges and all that sort of thing. So I usually try to get one that's fairly close to the size of the image that I'm stamping when I use a 3D embossing folder. Now, there are a couple of options with this die, and again, this is the hybrid embossing folder. If you don't want to emboss them, you can just take the die and run it through the die cutting machine, and you'll have perfectly die cut pretty flowers. But if you want to add the extra step of the embossing, then you want to take your die and slide it into the embossing folder and find the right set of flowers to put it around. And the die goes on the side that's got the Stampin' Up! Logo on it. All right, so we got it in there. Again, it doesn't snap into place, but you can't really slide it around. Once you've put it around the right group of flowers, there's a little bit of a lip on the embossed images, so your die will fit into them nicely. And then I'm going to take my flowers, and I'm generally going to flip them over kind of in the spot where the die is at. I know I'm going to end up having to move this. Then I'm going to close it and hold it closed and flip it over. And now I'm going to take my paper and kind of scoot it around here inside the embossing folder until I get it lined up in the spot where I want it to go. Yep, there we go. Getting it moved around in here. Oop, there I moved the die and everything. Sure she can do this. Come on, Amy. Oop, there we go. Okay, back in the right spot again. Too much yakking and moving stuff around and not enough paying attention. Okay, so again, got my paper in here, moving it around underneath the embossing folder and just trying to get the edges lined up with the dies. This, in my opinion, is the most difficult thing when you're using the 3D embossing folders, is just getting it set in the right spot. So that looks pretty good. I can see that the little white spots are lined up correctly here. This looks like it's in the right spot, so does this one. So now I'm going to hold this closed and we're going to go run it through the die cutting machine. All right. When you're using the 3D embossing folders, and that includes the hybrid embossing folders, the cutting sandwich is the base plate of whatever machine you're using. So if you're using, it's just a standard crank through machine. This is the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine that I have in particular, but this will work with other machines as well. So use your base plate, nothing else on it. Put your embossing folder with the paper in it, and then grab the specialty plate, which is the number 4 plate, and put it on the top. This plate actually will work in other machines besides the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So there are other die cutting machines that it'll work in, and this plate is sold separately, so you don't have to get the whole machine to get this one. Just look for the specialty plate out in the Stampin' Up! Store, and I think it's $12-ish, $12.50, something like that. Maybe $13. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's fairly inexpensive. And if you struggle with the 3D embossing folders, this will be a lifesaver for you. It works perfectly every time. All right, let me go run this through the die cutting machine. And then what you get is a die cut and embossed set of flowers. So I'm not sure how well the embossing shows up on here on screen, but I can definitely see it, and you can see it and feel the texture on it when you've got your flowers, and it's so pretty. All right, get rid of that, and then get my other 2 little flowers. So we've got these cut and embossed, and it may be easier to actually see the embossing on the flip side of them. Hopefully you can see it if I hold it still, maybe. Things don't fall everywhere. Trying to figure out if I can get it in a spot where you can see the embossing really well or not. I don't know if I'm helping or making it worse, but hopefully you can see they're cut and embossed, and they're very pretty. All right, get that out of the way. And then we need to die cut our little leaves. So we're going to grab the 2 leaf dies that coordinate with this stamp set, and we're going to go run these through the die cutting machine. And like I said, I did a couple of them ahead of time, so you didn't have to sit and watch me do this over and over again. All right. Gotta switch my plates. And there we go. Whoop. Okay. And then just throw your cutting plate right on the floor like I did to make a big loud noise. So, because that what fun would it be if there wasn't something that crashed to the floor every time I do a video. So there we go. Get the dies off the, I used a little Post-it note tape to hold those in place. So if you have trouble with your dies moving around, Post-it note tape is an excellent thing to use. Makes it much easier running things through the die cutting machine. All right. Get my plate picked up before I need to use that again. Then I'm going to go back to my card front, and we're going to start adhering some of this together. So I'm going to start with the larger flower, and we're going to use some glue dots. Hey, Marva, thanks for joining. Right in time to hear me drop the plate on the floor. Sorry about that. We're just going to use a couple little mini glue dots to stick the flower down. So a larger flower is going to go, I think we'll put it about right here. I'm not going to smoosh it down just yet until I get everything else in place and make sure that that's where I want it to be. Use a couple little glue dots here on the smaller flower. We're going to tuck that one up here right underneath my pink flower. And then we'll grab a couple of the leaves, put a little glue dot on that one, tuck that under, And then we've got our smaller leaf. Oop. I guess I had done a couple of the larger leaves ahead of time, not just one. So, all right, grab this one and get some glue dots on those. Get that one out of the way. Glue dot on this one. And then I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere the final flower on. And we'll just put a couple of those around my flower. All right. There we go. And then I'll set the last little flower on here again, just making sure that everything is in the spot where I want it to be before I smash it all down for good. I'm going to tuck the little leaves up under here as well and make sure that those are going to fit on in the place where I want them to be. There we go. It looks like everything is going to. So I think I may pull this out just a hair if I can get it to wiggle out a little bit from underneath the yellow flower. And I think we will call that good and smoosh everything down. All right. Next thing we're going to do is stamp a sentiment. I'm going to pull in my little die cut paper again. And I've got the congratulations sentiment on the block, although what's the other one that says, you make me smile will also fit on this same die, or in the same die, so you can take your pick, whichever sentiment you want. And I had a little trouble earlier with this ink pad. It was a little overly inky, although it doesn't look too bad right now, so I think we'll call it good. I've got a little, I'll stamp it and we'll see what it comes out like. See, that's not as nice as I want it to be. It's a little blotchy because my ink pad is a little overly inky. So I'm going to grab an old credit card that I have, and this is how I take care of that. If I get an image that's kind of globby looking and a little too much ink on it, I just take a credit card and kind of do like I'm frosting a cake on it, and it smooshes the ink back down into the ink pad a little, and I usually get a much nicer image the next time around. So there we go. Yep, that's much better. So I don't know if you can see the difference. I'll hold it up a little closer to the screen here so that hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. See how the top one is a little bit kind of blotchy and not as nice looking? It's a little overly inked, and you can't see all the detail of all the letters. The one down below definitely stamped a little bit better, in my opinion. It's, none of it's perfect, but it definitely looks better. So if you have trouble with the images doing that, where they're kind of globby looking and bubbly and you don't love it, try the little trick with a credit card. It works. Or you can use an old gift card, or you can even use a knife or a plastic spoon or whatever. So, all right, I'm going to grab the die that coordinates with this. Again, this is from the Hibiscus hybrid embossing folder dies. So let me run this through the die cutting machine. Okay, there we go. Get that out of the way. And we're just going to grab a couple little Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this to the card front, because this is dimensionalized, so I want to have some dimension under my sentiment as well. Going to grab, 3 or 4 of those, and we'll put those on. Maybe we'll go with 4, since it's kind of a longer sentiment. Oh, I'm glad that helps, Susan. Yep, or Suzanne, I'm sorry. Suzette. One of these days I'll get it right. So mouth is moving faster than the brain today. So, all right, I'm going to take this and tuck it in here right along the flowers. Try to make sure that it's on here fairly straight. And it's okay that it's overhanging the edge of my kind of framing here. As long as it's on the card front, I'm good with that. And I don't care where this side lands as long as it's not hanging off the card. All right, the last thing that I added to the card front are some of the adhesive-backed shiny sequins. And these are the pretty sequins. They're actually part of the Xenia suite of products. Again, they are part of the online exclusives, but you can find them out there if you search for shiny sequins. On the Stampin' Up! Website, you will come across these, and they're really pretty and really shiny. And like I said, they technically coordinate with the, is it simply Xenia? The Xenia suite that's out there in the online exclusives. But I thought I liked the colors with the the flowers that I was using and the little extra shine that the sequins have as well. So that is it for the card front. So again, hopefully you can kind of see the embossing on it, see the pretty sequins, and yeah, kind of see the 3D effect that you get with the flowers when you do the embossing on those as well. All right, inside of the card is super simple. Just got a piece of basic white cardstock and a little strip of the leftover paper that I trimmed off when I was making my card front. Again, this is from the 2024 to 2026 In Color Designer Series paper pack. And just going to run a little strip of that across the basic white panel. The basic white panel is cut to about 4 by 5 1/4. And this is about 3/4 of an inch wide. Just going to stick the two pieces together with the Stampin' seal. And then trim off the excess. Oh, thanks, Karen. I'm glad you're liking it. So there we go. And then we will add a little more Stampin' seal to the back of this. There we go. And stick it together. And we got the inside of the card done too. So super quick and easy. I'm going to fold it closed and grab the bone folder and give it a quick crease to make sure that I've got a good solid crease on it. There we go. And that's it. So you can decide whether you like the stripes better or the polka dots better. I actually thought I was going to like the polka dots better, but I'm leaning a little towards the stripes myself. So you can decide which one you like better. You can make some of each. If you don't like either of those, there's kind of florally leaves on the back of this one, and then you saw the back side of this one, so you can flip them over, make whatever you want. So there you go. So that's it. So again, this bundle is available for demonstrators to pre-order now. You can add it to your starter kit if you join during the month of October. And get that great deal on the starter kit, get the discount for yourself. Or you can order it starting on the 5th of November as a customer. So let me know if you have questions about anything. I appreciate you guys being here. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And gosh, it's certainly starting to feel like fall here. I actually needed a jacket this morning. It was cold out there. So there we go. Robin likes the stripes too. All right. I'm glad that you agree with me. I don't know. The stripes they stand out a little bit more on the card. I don't know. I'm leaning towards the stripes myself, but I like them both. So, all right. So that's all that I have today. I will plan to be live around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, and again next week Friday here on YouTube with another couple projects. So let me know if you have questions on anything. Again, all the details for this card will be posted on my blog tomorrow on Saturday about 8 a.m. Eastern time, and the blog is stampwithamyk.com. And I'll link directly to the blog post once it goes live around 8 tomorrow morning, and then you'll be able to click over and find the printable PDF tutorial with all the information about the card, cardstock cuts, all that good stuff. So let me know if you have questions about anything. Again, have a great weekend. For those of you in Florida, in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Tennessee, know we're all thinking of you, and reach out if there's anything we can do to help, because my goodness, I know it's a mess down there. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll chat with you all soon.